Hello everyone, this is going to be a full body mobility video. We've got a handful of exercises that I'm going to demonstrate, try and coach you through and give you some examples for how many reps you should be doing, how long you should be holding it for, what muscles we should be feeling that activating. Pause as and when you need to, and during this time if you feel like you want to add more reps into it because you feel like those are specific areas of muscle you want to work on, feel free to do so. And also, if we're talking through certain muscle groups that you don't need to target as much, skip through and work your way through it. But generally what we're going to go through today is a full body, working from our calves all the way up towards our pecs. So it'll be a really good standard mobility routine for anyone to engage with. That I will offer some modifications or different ways of stretching the same muscle when needed, and basically just tag along with me. So first exercise, I'll try and demonstrate from a few different angles as well. First exercise, what we have is an inchworm into a world's greatest stretch. So an inchworm, we're going to be stretching through our calves, hamstrings, hip flexors, glutes, bit of our adductors. It's a great exercise to start off with, but generally all lower body. So what you're going to do, if you have the hamstring mobility, you're going to keep your legs straight and bring your hands down towards the floor. If you don't have the mobility, just get to a point that you feel that hamstring stretch and rock yourself forward. Walk your hands out into a tall plank, and then you're going to bring your left leg up towards your left foot, like so. If you can't do that, just bring it up as high towards that left arm as possible, and then whichever hand your foot's come up to, you're going to rotate up towards the ceiling, back down, and then swap sides. So right foot up and rotate up, slow and steady, feet back, and then you're going to slowly walk yourself back in, keeping your legs straight as long as possible, okay? If you can't do that, or if you didn't see that very well, I'll do it from the side and coach you through what we're going to try and emphasise in that stretch a little bit more. So from the side, legs straight, slide your hands down your shins towards the floor, walk your hands out in towards a tall plank, and then from this position, your focus is on letting your knee be about 90 degrees. This back hip, so if I swap over, this back hip isn't bent down, you're not bending your knees, you're not rounding your back. Really try and drive that heel backwards so your leg is as straight as possible. You should feel a stretch through this front right hip flexor, and then when you've done so, you're going to maintain that with a rotation and back down. If you can't do that, pop your knee down for a bit more stability and rotate up and down. Bring that leg up, other leg behind, swap sides. Again, try and straighten out that leg as much as possible to get more of a stretch through the front of your hip. If not, knee down, and then right hand, because my right foot is up, is going to rotate up, down, both feet back, and then you're going to walk your hands back towards your toes and slowly stand up, okay? So rep scheme for that, we're looking to do 6 on each leg. So you do 1 on each leg, walk your feet back, walk your hands back up towards your feet, and that is 1 rep. So this that is 1 rep. You're going to repeat that 6 times. Hold that stretch at the bottom for 2 to 3 seconds with the rotation. And then after that, we're going to go into a kneeling hip flexor stretch. So after that, what some of you in the groups might realise or remember, we've talked about getting both knees at 90 degrees. And in this stretch, we're looking to target the top of your quad muscles into your hip flexors. There are some that aren't your quads, but this is an anatomy lesson. So we're looking to try and get that stretch quite high up and towards our hips. To do so, we need to be really stable through our hip as a joint, okay? So a lot of people, when they try and do a hip flexor stretch, arch their back and really try and push themselves forward as much as possible, and they don't really feel it that much because you're just getting a lot of mobility out of your lower back. what is going to be much more effective if before we move, we're going to tuck our hips underneath ourselves, and I can already feel that stretch coming on now. So your variables, you're either going to hold this stretch, if you can feel the stretch into your quads start off with, or if not, going to go away from that arch your lower back, tuck your hips under, and then you're going to slowly lean forward until you increase that stretch. And your other option is to try and lengthen through the side that you're stretching. So my right knee is down behind me, it's stacked underneath my hips, and my arms are going to try and stretch up. You're going to try and stretch through all of the musculature on this right hand side, reach up towards the ceiling, and again you can lean forward if you need more of a stretch. But the focus on that is not excessive range of movement, because I can do that without much of a stretch. But if I control my hips, right arm up, and slowly come forward, I can feel that a lot more intensely. And you're going to look to try and do that 4 times in each leg with a 3 to 5 second hold in that stretch position, okay? So from the other side and from the front, both knees at 90 degrees like so. I'm going to control my pelvis, so I'm going to go, imagine if your hip was a bucket at the top, you want to go away from tipping water through the front, you want to flatten out the bucket, stretch through this left arm, control that stretch, lean into it until you feel the stretch through the top of your hip, hold, back in, and if you want to, you can either repeat that 4 times in this leg, or do 4 times and alternate, okay? After that, we're going to go into a kneeling hamstring rock. So we're going to have our knee slightly bent now, it's not completely flat, shallow bend, almost as if the kind of angle that your knees would be in an RDL. And what we're going to do, we're going to rock ourselves backwards and through, okay? So just going to pulse through, stretch through that hamstring and back in, okay? We're going to do 8 on each leg. Again, controlling your pelvis when you come back through. You can also get a bit of a hip flex stretch by doing so, but the main focus on this exercise is to stretch through that hamstring muscle behind your thigh, and progressively just go through a bit more range of movement as we warm up those hamstrings, okay? From the side, knee at a slight bend, in front of you, in line with your hips, toes up, and you're going to rock ourselves backwards, come forward, and you've got 8 reps to go through of that, okay? You can hold the stretch for a bit longer, or if you're rushed for time and you want a bit of hamstring mobility, just hold that stretch for half a second, back up out, stretch, and slowly try and try and control that knee to as close to being straight as possible, okay? After that, we're going to go into another form of hamstring stretching called hamstring flossing. Sometimes this is prescribed for people if they've got neural symptoms. If your sciatic nerve is normally the one that gives a few people grief, that can become quite stiff, but your nerves don't like being stretched. They respond really well to heat and controlled movement. So flossing literally comes from the idea of flossing your teeth. You're going to move one end and shorten the other, so stretch through this side, stretch that side with your length, or shortening the other. So your exercise here, you're going to lie on your back on my right side so you can all see. I'm going to tuck that knee up towards my chest, and as I extend through to stretch my hamstrings, I'm going to tuck my toes up and keep my head relaxed backwards, and then as I come forward, I'm going to point my toes, I'm going to bring my chin up towards my chest, and it's really important when you do this to point your toes away, so I'm relaxing the bottom end of my nervous system, and then as I come up and toes up towards me, I'm relaxing the top part of my nervous system and trying to stretch the bottom half, okay? If you have any neural tension and you bring your chin to your chest, that'll probably exacerbate your symptoms, okay? But for now, with it just being mobility, we're looking to do 8 on each leg. So head back, toes up towards you, chin down and toes down to the floor. Again, this is a nice steady rocking in between 2 ranges. It shouldn't take you too long. If you do want to spend longer on this, like I said at the beginning, you're more than welcome to. Pause as and when you need to spend more time or less time on certain exercises, and then from the front, it will look something like this. So I'm tucking, this leg is completely straight. I'm going to tuck my left knee up towards my chest, extend through that knee, relax my head back, and then I'm going to bring my chin to my chest, toes pointing down, and then head comes up, and my toes come to point towards my shin. Okay, that is hamstring flossing. After that, so we've gone through calves, hamstrings, hip flexors and quads. Now we're going to look into a crucifix progression, which is generally looking through our glutes and our lumbar spine. A lot of the time these days, people that are desk-based are stuck into one plane of movement, which is just flexion and extension. We get really restricted with rotation and side flexion, okay? So our crucifix, I think everyone would have seen it, but we're going to go through a progression of that. We're going to start with our knees touching, like so, and our feet are on the floor. Nice deep breath in, relax your back into the floor, and we're just going to slowly drop our knees side to side, controlling our opposite shoulder. So as my knee drops over to this side, I'm focusing on keeping my right shoulder on the floor. If I can't do that, what I'd rather you do is just control the range of movement that doesn't force you to rock your opposite shoulder off the floor, like so, okay? So relax yourself back, arms down to the side, and then you've got about 10, 15, 20 seconds with your knees and feet together. This should be generally quite easy for most people. If you have any SIJ pain or lumbar issues, try and stay in this range of movement and don't go through anything that is going to aggravate it. After that, we're going to control through our core, knees bent at 90 degrees, and we're going to do the same movement. So knees down to the side, I'm pinning my left shoulder down to the floor as I come back up, and I'm controlling. You're going to get a little bit of activation through your obliques as well as you pull yourself back up into the middle. And again, 20, 30 seconds, however long you feel like you need to on this exercise. And then your last variation, what we're going to do is one leg straight, and we're going to bend our knee across. Can look over onto our opposite shoulder. So if my left knee is coming across my right side of my body, I'm going to look over my left shoulder for a bit more rotation. Back into the middle, left leg down straight, right knee up. I'm going to rotate that. You can support it with your other hand. You're going to look over your right shoulder and then back up to the middle. Just rotate through that range of movement nice and steadily for 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how much you feel like you need to mobilise your lower back. After that, if you need to, that's probably going to take you a bit longer than what I've demonstrated. So as I said before, please pause it, spend as long as you need to on any of the exercises that we've gone through so far, and then just play when you feel like you've done enough. After that, we're going to go through a hip 90-90. So a really good exercise for hip socket mobility. Hip 90-90 is pretty self-explanatory. We're looking at both knees being at 90 degrees. We're going to reach over and the parallel shin. So reach over towards that. Your chest should follow the line of your femur. Going to come over that knee, and then if you can, going to pop your hands behind you, pin your heels into the floor. You're going to rotate across, and that should lead you into another set of two 90-degree angles. And I'll follow the angle of my femur here, reach over my knee, and as I do that, I'm stretching my left glute, stretch through, and then we're going to rotate through and across. We're looking to get 6 to 8 reps on each side of that. This is a really good exercise. Don't feel the need to reach over more. If you feel like just leaning backwards and doing this is enough to stretch through your hip socket, and you're going to ease your way into this exercise, more than welcome to do that. This isn't setting certain standards that everyone should be meeting. There's going to be lots of variables that cause people to possibly have discomfort doing this, or from injuries that don't need to go through full range of movement, but the mobility that this offers will be really beneficial for most people, okay? And last one, good stretch across. And like I said, 6 to 8 reps on each side, more or less than if you want to. Looking to stretch through our glutes, and you're going to get a bit of a stretch through the inside of your hip socket doing that exercise. Next up, we have got a cobra to a downward dog. This one I'll demonstrate facing towards you and from the side. So our cobras, we're going to start on the floor, chest on the floor like so, and then you're going to do a press up through the palm of your hands, keeping your hips in contact with the floor. Try and extend upwards, have a bit of a stretch through your lower, well, you're stretching through your abdominals, you're closing down the space of your lower back. And then from here, just make sure your feet are outside the width of your hips. Good. Push your hips up, and then walk your hands backwards a little bit, like so. And then slowly bring your chest down to the floor, cobra yourself through, relax your lower back, and stretch through those abdominals again, okay? Deep breath in, push your hips up, drive your head in between your shoulders, and then slowly lower yourself down like so, and stretch through those abdominals again, okay? I'll demonstrate from the side, so it might be a bit easier for you to see. We're gonna start on the floor, hands just outside our shoulder width like so. Gonna push our chest up off the floor, keeping our hips in contact. Stretch through those abdominals. You can extend up through your neck if you want to have a bit more of a stretch. And then your feet are going to be a bit wider. Going to push your hips up off the floor, stretch through, and then you're going to lower your head down, and then extend through your lower back, okay? If you can't go through that movement, what we can do is just drive our hands backwards, stretch through our hips like so, and then walk your hands forward, chest down to the floor, and extend up. Okay, so your other option would be to keep your knees wide, and then rock yourself backwards, and then onto the floor, and extend up like so, okay? So that is going to be stretching through our abdominals, going to strengthen quite a lot of your shoulder muscles, bit of extension, so we're mobilising our back. It's a really good exercise in terms of extension. Like I said before, the majority of people that are looking for mobility routines are probably desk-based or they drive a lot. When we're desk-based, we'll round through our shoulders, we'll get really tight through our pecs, probably quite tight through our internal rotator cuff. And by doing so, we get quite kyphotic, which is the term for when you're rounding through your shoulder. That exercise works on that extension. It'll open up your chest quite a lot. It'll be a really good way to start or finish a day if you've gone 9 hours at a desk or you've travelled for a couple of hours, sometimes on top of that. Really good option for you to work on countering some of that. After that, we've got thread the needle. This is going to be another good exercise for this thoracic part of your chest, which is on the back of your thoracic is kind of just the level of your spine. This is a rotational exercise. Like I said before, a lot of our movements these days are just forward and backwards, like so. So doing something that's going to offer some sort of rotational mobility is a great way or a great exercise to add in. So if I face towards you, thread the needle, we're going to have our hands directly underneath our shoulders. Going to push my right hand is going to come underneath this arch that I've made with my left hand and my left knee. I'm going to drive that underneath it to try and get the back of my shoulder blade in contact with the floor, and then with my left hand I'm going to try and rotate and push away, stretch in between my shoulder blades and come up, hand up to the ceiling, and then right hand down, left hand comes through this arch between my right hand and my right knee, drop that left shoulder down onto the floor, and then with this right hand I'm pushing myself away for a bit of an additional stretch, okay? That exercise, we're looking to get 8 reps on each side, stretch in between your shoulder blades, and we're then coming up to open up through our pecs and stretch through the front of our chest, okay? After that, we are going to grab a bench or a chair. I will demonstrate this from the side because that will be the best angle for everyone. What we have got here, so this is going to be fine, whatever you need, so a bench or a chair, we're going to pop our elbows onto the bench like so. Knees are going to stay nice and far away. You can hold onto our shoulders if needs be, or you can keep your hands like so. I'll show you two different variables, or variations, sorry. If my thumbs are up like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drop down, keep my arms straight, and bring my chest down towards the floor, and then come back up, okay? That's quite a nice stretch for your thoracic. You stretch through your lats as well, which is a really good option for us. Deep breath in at the top, slow breath out, push your hips backwards. Feel that stretch underneath your pecs and your lats. Breathe in, up to the top and down. Some people might prefer to hold onto their shoulders. You're just going to come a bit closer, and we're just going to drop down and extend through your chest a bit, okay? With our hands at our shoulders, you'll generally feel the stretch a lot more through your spine. With your hands straighter, you'll probably feel a bit more muscular. So if you want to, you've got 6 to 8 reps with that. If you want to do 3 really slow reps with your hands straight, and then 3 with your hands on your shoulders, that's a really good option for you as well. And then our last mobility exercise that we're going to go through is a prone pec stretch, which I will do facing towards you to be the best angle. What we will do is going to lie flat on the floor with our chest. I'm going to start with my right hand out to the side, and then I'm going to push the floor away with my left hand, trying to lift my chest up, but keeping my bicep in contact with the floor. And I will then get a stretch through the front of my pec here, okay? So you're going to push up, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, and back down, left arm out, and repeat on the other side, okay? So you're going to push yourself away through that right arm, and then rotate through. Unlike what we've said in our classes, where dynamic exercises are the priority, we don't want, and in those sessions, we don't want to hold stretches for particularly long. In this environment, you can hold your stretches for 4, 5, 6 seconds if you need to, because that's going to offer you a bit more mobility. And if needs be with that exercise, we can also change where the height that we're putting our hands. And by doing so, we will target slightly different fibres. So if I put my hand a little bit lower and stretch through, you'll hit slightly different fibres of your pecs, which would be a good option for most people. Like I said, this day and age, a lot of people are quite internally rotated. That's from your pec muscles, internal rotators, and that causes your shoulder to roll in. This is a really good way to finish off that whole mobility routine, to open up those chests, get a bit more extension through your back, and counterbalance that weakness that we build up through our lower back, or upper back, okay? So I hope that works well for everyone. Like I said, if you want to, there's any exercises that you found that were really good there, rewind it, go back to any exercise you want to redo, add reps, take away reps that you feel like you need to if you want to consolidate to a set few exercises, and then as you get more confident with them, add more time, add more isometric holds, and I hope this helps everyone. Thank you very much.